We're going to start with Sam in Pine Island, Minnesota.
All right.
Sam, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi.
Is this Russell?
This is Russell. What's up?
So I want to know, like, why, if you have, like, a good reason to not believe in a God, or is it just that you don't have evidence?
Well, I mean, generally not having evidence is a good reason not to believe in something. I mean, it's the same reason that we don't believe in UFOs or unicorns or fairies. It's not that there couldn't be those things. It's just that in order to start believing in something, you generally need good evidence.
Okay, I would agree with that, but so then how would you assume everything came into existence?
I wouldn't assume everything came into existence. I start by observing that things in fact exist, and then we start investigating exactly where the evidence leads. I mean, there's no need to prove the fact that stuff exists, right?
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, if you're trying to test a hypothesis like, well, there is an infinitely powerful being in another dimension who speaks words and makes these things appear, then you would try to come up with, like, observations that could support that. And if you don't find that sort of thing, then you would abandon that hypothesis and look for something else. So, I mean, is this God idea testable is one question.
Well, it is, in the sense that if I'm a Bible-believing Christian,
right.
Jesus rising, all that, I would believe there's evidence for that.
Okay.
Such
Even
as?
though you can't see that it happened, there's still that evidence, I think.
Such as?
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's really accurate. I mean, everything it says, is accurate, at least as what we found in science thus far.
Such as?
What's accurate, and what do you think supports your claim?
Like, I think in Isaiah, that's Old Testament,
Okay.
there's a verse describing just a simple thing, how the earth is round. And before that wasn't generally thought. They thought it was flat.
Okay, look, anybody who stood on a high mountain could easily observe that the earth had a circular shape.
Right. I mean, nobody would ever say that every single sentence in the Bible is false. And by the way, there are other verses people point to as indications that they didn't know the earth was spherical. But but regardless of that, it could say right there the earth is a sphere, and that wouldn't be any evidence for God. It would just be evidence that they got something right.
I just think it's evidence that shows it's accurate, though. And there's many more.
No, but what Russell is saying is, even if they got the one thing accurate, it doesn't mean that everything else in there is accurate.
Well, there's a lot of things in there that are accurate. And if you find a lot of things that
so
are
far,
accurate,
you haven't said anything that blows my socks off. Is there something about God that can be pointed to as definitely accurate?
Well, before Jesus got arrested, it described him as sweating blood. That's an actual medical term, disease type thing that's happened today.
So the people who sweat blood today as a medical term are
it's rare, but it actually, and I think that's just one example of many that shows it can be accurate.
Okay, even if that claim were true, how does that prove anything about the divinity of Jesus or any of the truth of any of the other things?
It just shows that the scriptures itself are accurate. If you can
it actually doesn't.
It shows that the scriptures contain at least some accurate sentences.
Okay.
It doesn't show that the scriptures as a whole are accurate.
Or that it contains a claim that could be plausible if you could demonstrate that, first of all, Jesus was an historical person and he had this medical condition that you claim causes people to sweat blood. And you haven't demonstrated either of those.
Right. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy also contains sentences which are accurate. But, I mean, there are some things about space, it says, that are not completely silly. But that doesn't mean that any of the other stuff happened.
But then how do you explain, like, archaeological discoveries they found about the Bible that also show accuracy?
Such as?
Such as?
and Solomon, he had many chariots and stuff, and he had a metal refinery manufacturing, and they've discovered that. They've excavated that.
I'm not really familiar with that one.
Yeah,
Are you?
I'm a little skeptical of that. But even if they did discover that somebody, during the time when Solomon was supposedly, the king or whatever,
Yeah, king.
Even if they had evidence that he had a metal refinery, that doesn't demonstrate that there's anything supernatural going on.
Yeah,
here.
I mean,
Lots
was
of
it
people
a
had metal
magic
refineries.
What about this suggests that there's a God?
Well, I can do that. I can do that too. I mean, how do you explain the such? Because if you were to say that a God didn't make the universe, you would have to argue that there wouldn't be design as good a design as there is.
What makes you think there's a good design?
Good design? Oh, it has to be designed just perfect for life. I mean,
not really. I mean,
okay.
The thing is, and I see here it mentions that you doubt evolution, but I mean, the thing is that when most scientists have come through and looked at where the evidence leads, they point out that life tends to adapt to whatever environment it's in. And, there's a lot of empty space in the universe that doesn't actually have any life in it. But the life that we have here tends to be, suited to the place that it's in. And that's not because the place was specially designed to have life in it. It's because, it's because life that didn't adapt to where it's at died. So, I mean, none of that still is magical.
Wait. Okay, you're saying that the reason the things are the way they are is because we just adapted to living on Earth.
Exactly.
But then how come it's the only planet that has life and no other planets adapted anything else to it?
We don't know that.
We don't know that it's the only planet.
As far as we know.
Okay.
All that means is life is rare. Which means that the universe is hardly...
somewhere.
Okay, well look, what that means is that the universe is hardly a perfect place for life to evolve.
It was only meant for life here.
How do you know this?
If you go biblically, I believe that's true.
Yeah, but why would you go biblically to begin with? There's no reason to believe that the biblical idea about a sixth-day creation and all this other stuff that they say is in any way something other than the scribblings of a bunch of Bronze Age shepherds.
Okay, if you look at the Bible, the Earth is about 6,000 years old. If you look at evolution, it's billions, but it's not billions.
Why not?
Why not?
Well, I could give you. I think I can give you fair evidence.
Yeah, I mean, you can give me something some creationists said, but not people who have actually done a detailed study of the science and made theories and tested them.
It's not about who it comes from. It's about the information in general.
Well, I agree with that, but the point is...
Can I just give a few things that I think it shows that it's about 6,000 years old?
Okay.
Okay.
I have here the index to creationist claims. Let me see if you've got one that isn't on here.
Okay.
I'll just start with a few.
Okay.
Okay, if you were to believe that the Earth is billions of years old, like evolution says, and that humans started millions of years ago, according to the increased rates of population, you would have 150,000 people on the Earth per square inch.
Okay.
That's true.
No, it isn't.
It isn't?
So Noah's flood had like 8 people surviving,
and
right?
If you add...
Okay, do you know when the pyramids were supposedly built?
What's that?
Do you know when the pyramids were supposedly built according to Bishop Ussher's chronology?
Oh, well, they were the old kingdom of Egypt. They were probably, I don't know, maybe 2000 BC.
They were built about 100 years after Noah's flood was supposed to have happened. So that means that 8 people were supposedly going to have generated enough people to populate Egypt that there were all these slaves to build the pyramids. Those 8 guys must have been pretty busy, right?
No, okay, first off, if the Earth is 6,000 years old, it fits perfectly with 6 billion people.
It doesn't
doesn't.
fit perfectly.
Yeah, because about 150 years, the population doubles, and if you keep that average
the population
pace...
doesn't like consistently, reliably double every 150
but
years.
if you were
What
to believe
happens
in-
is that people survive at variable rates. Sometimes the population is flat because there's a lot of people dying off.
Okay, was it flat for 3 million years? According
Yes.
to evolution?
What?
Actually,
would-
the
you
rate of
believe-
population
On
growth.
an exponential scale,
Yeah,
yes.
the
it's
rate of
pretty flat.
population growth was very, very small
I can't read that much,
for
sorry.
a long period of time. So,
Oh, if you want to believe 3 million years, be my guest, but
no,
I don't think that's very...
and let's be clear, it's not evolution that claims the Earth is 4.5 billion years roughly.
That's fine, but...
It's
I just
actually
think
geology.
Geology, well, if you don't want to believe in geologic column, I mean, that's not reliable at all.
Yeah, actually it is.
You believe that, so you believe that those layers grew over millions of years?
No, they didn't grow over millions of years.
The sediment added over millions of years.
I believe what the geologists claim happened.
Is that what
Okay.
you... Well, is that what you think?
So what you're telling
science-
us is that the Bible is reliable as long as we're willing to dismiss all of science in order to get there.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying... It seems
I
like,
mean, you don't seem to be particularly interested in what... I mean, what you're basically saying is what one person says is pretty much as good as what another person says. It doesn't matter how much study they've done. It doesn't matter how much the base science supports them. If it disagrees
but-
with the Bible, then it's got to be wrong by default.
I think if you show that the Earth is 6,000 years old, like the Bible would indicate, I think that show that it's accurate.
Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah,
Well,
good luck.
I have more claims.
All right,
Well, go ahead.
Okay.
next.
The universe, the galaxies have their spiral shape. Can we agree on that?
Hang on, I
Some
got
of them do,
Galaxy
yeah.
Spiral right here. That's CE 380.
And if the universe is over 10,000 years old, they won't have those spiral tails. Because
Spiral arms are density waves, which, like sound in air, travel through the galaxy's disk, causing a piling up of stars and gas at the crest of the waves. In some galaxies, the central bulge reflects the wave, giving rise to a giant standing spiral wave with a uniform rotation and a lifetime of about 1 or 2 billion years. The causes of the density waves are still not known, but there are many possibilities. Tidal effects from a neighboring galaxy probably cause some of them. The spiral pattern is energetically favorable. Spiral configurations develop spontaneously in computer simulations based on gravitational dynamics.
Okay.
I mean, this stuff you're saying is not like news to scientists in general. These aren't
Okay.
things that a bunch of that a bunch of biblical scholars came up with and
No,
completely
but there's a
stumped
bunch
people.
of... But there's... You act like there's only scientists that... The scientists that we have now, none of them are Christians.
I'm not
No,
saying
some
none
of-
of them are Christians.
Some of them are Christians, and they disagree with what you say.
Right. I mean, the Christians that
there's some that
study
agree
this
with what
stuff
I
in
say.
depth generally don't stay like young Earth creationists. Some of them are old Earth creationists, but I mean, there is no real scientific support for the idea that the Earth is young. I mean,
Yeah.
no.
No, there actually isn't.
Really?
Okay. Okay, you're familiar with carbon dating at all?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay. It
And
can only
it's-
be measured
it's
up to, I would say,
accurate
about...
to a limited amount of time in the past, yes. There
Yeah.
are other methods of radiometric dating that are accurate to longer periods.
But in the lowest layers of the geologic column, why can we still date it at carbon dating, period?
Because that's a misapplication. People are taking things which are older than carbon dating is good for, and misapplying it and coming up with the numbers that they see and pretending
Yeah.
that this is a big
No,
disaster for science.
You don't understand. If you can still measure carbon in it, and then that means that it's less than millions of years old. It can only be maximum 80,000.
There's
No.
this thing called a half-life. The carbon
Yeah.
never completely disappears.
No, but
it
they
just
can't
gets
measure that
smaller
for
and
4 or
smaller.
5 half-lives.
You understand that there's different forms of carbon, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know they date things, potassium, argon, radiometric, etc.,
Okay.
but none
And-
of those work either.
Yeah, they actually do. And,
No,
and you know the
there's-
cool thing about these things is that when you start dating things with the appropriate radiometric tool, they all converge on the same answer. And when you have multiple
Well-
lines of evidence converging on the same answer, then proposing another absurdly out-of-range answer is just ridiculous.
Absurdly out-of-range answer.
Yeah, like 6,000 years.
That's... Okay, here's some dates for radiometric.
Okay.
Let's see. This is Mount Etna. The rock they used is basalt. They know the date known was 21,000 years. It measured 25 million. I wouldn't say that's accurate.
Well, where are you getting this?
That you could use that as a source right there, but
I'm sorry.
No,
Mount what?
Where are you
Mount
getting
what?
Mount
I mean,
Etna?
Can you spell that?
Mount Etna.
Can you spell that?
E-T-N-A. Mount E-T-N-A.
Okay.
Okay, what about it?
The date they've measured with radiometric dating on basalt rock.
Who did the
Okay.
measurement?
What's that?
Who did the measurement?
I just have the dates. I could find that, but I don't have it on me right now.
Okay. So,
But it was measured.
who's
it was.
reporting this?
I'm sure I can tell you that, but I'm sure if you look that up, that's there because that's the source. But I got that from John Morris.
Okay.
He's a creationist.
Who's a young Earth creationist? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and if you want, I have a few more.
Well, I mean, why would we be interested in rehashing creationist claims over and over again?
So why would you believe that dating if it's off by 25 million years? Why would you believe it?
The question is, you've got creationists who are going out and using inappropriate dating techniques.
Whoa! How do you know this? How can you assume it's inappropriate?
Because, to my knowledge,
Where are the published papers, the mainstream peer-reviewed scientific papers that say that this is a serious flaw in the carbon in the radiometric dating?
Well, you can check him up. He cites everything he shows.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
says
I know.
things, but there's a difference. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
he's
stepping on you.
no John Morris. I mean, he's been exposed as basically a guy who really doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to radiometric dating. He makes a lot of claims. He can't back it up. He doesn't have the credentials. If he had the credentials, he'd be published in mainstream publications. And believe me, if he found a flaw in radiometric dating that caused
But there's assumptions.
dating,
Even if those dates aren't correct.
no.
Okay.
If he found a flaw in radiometric dating that was this significant, he would be famous for it.
And not among creationist circles.
Exactly.
I mean, actually, among scientists.
So my question is, why are you citing a guy who does not have the credentials to actually be regarded as any kind of authority in this area?
But that doesn't mean those dates are wrong.
Yeah, actually it
If he doesn't have a
does.
credential, it does. You can prove that those dates are wrong.
No, it's not because he lacks his credentials. It's because he's wrong.
You know that date off the top of your head?
Do I know what off the top of my head?
It
No.
comes back full circle to the first thing you asked, which is why not believe in a God? And I said that the default is to be skeptical of stuff until there's evidence provided that a thing is true. If we got some guy off the street who says that my primary goal is to advance biblical truth, and then he makes a bunch of claims which run counter to the prevailing science. No, I don't have the information right now to say whether he's wrong. I'm just saying that you need that. The burden of proof is on his side.
Okay,
he needs to bring the evidence and get it peer reviewed so that people who are qualified, which is not like you, me, and Jen, but people who actually are able to evaluate the scientific evidence with a background in studying this stuff, can accept or reject it. And the fact that it's not in peer-reviewed scientific journals is a major issue that means that we don't have to bother worrying about it that much.
Still, dating or not, it still doesn't matter because when God made everything, He made it with age.
How do you know?
Okay, take Adam and Eve.
Yeah?
When he made them, they weren't babies, were they?
You know
They
I
were
don't
full-grown
believe that
men.
Adam and Eve exist, right?
Can you hear my point out for a second?
No, you're saying that this is something that could have happened. I understand the Adam and Eve argument. I'm saying, how do you know it did happen that way?
Well, I believe the biblical creation.
All
I
right,
believe,
so in the end, we're not talking about arguments that prove that God exists. We're not talking about evidence. We're talking about accepting your beliefs as they are.
No, okay, here's my number one evidence that God exists.
Okay.
I believe that, and I can give you...
And this is going to have to be the last one because we got to move on to other callers.
Okay, but I believe that the universe is so accurately designed, you can't deny a creator.
We've already been over that one.
We just talked about that.
Okay, thanks for calling.